when survival becomes your foundation, rebuilding after childhood trauma. Welcome to the Soft Girl Era podcast, where we unlearn survival and rediscover softness. I'm your host, LeAnne Dolce, pronounced Dolce, like sweet softness whispered in French. Today, I had the profound honor of sitting down with Tonya Oliver, a survivor, a healer, and a woman who is courageously building a new foundation after decades of carrying the weight of childhood rape. Tonya Oliver is not just surviving, she's redefining what it means to live fully, to heal deeply, and to choose softness in a world that taught her only survival. Her story, her strength, and her commitment to healing are changing lives, inspiring women across the country to drop the cape, release the shame, and finally choose themselves. Today, we're going to explore what that journey really looks like. And I promise you, this conversation will change how you think about trauma, healing, and what it means to truly rebuild. Here's the thing nobody tells you about trauma, especially childhood sexual trauma. It doesn't just live in your memory, it becomes the blueprint, the foundation, the operating system for how you move through the world. And for Black women, we're not just carrying our own pain, we're carrying generations of silence, the pressure to be strong, the expectation to hold everyone else together while we're falling apart inside. We're carrying the weight of ancestors who couldn't speak, communities that won't listen, and systems that were never designed to protect us in the first place. Tonya Oliver shared with me that she was raped at 4 years old. 4. Let that sink in for a moment. 4 years old. And for years, decades really, her entire life was built around that moment. Not because she wanted it to be, but because trauma has a way of becoming the architect when you're too young to even know what's being built. When you're 4, you don't have the language for what's happening to you. You don't have the tools to process it. You don't have the power to stop it. So your body does what it has to do to survive. It builds walls, it creates systems, it develops patterns that keep you safe, even if those patterns end up keeping you small. And now Tanya is doing the hardest, bravest thing a survivor can do. She's tearing down that old foundation, brick by painful brick, and building something new, something softer, something that actually belongs to her, something that wasn't designed by trauma, but by choice, by healing, by a fierce commitment to living a life that's finally beautifully hers. And let me be clear, this conversation isn't easy, but it's necessary because nearly 1 in 3 Black women will experience rape in their lifetime. 1 in 3. Read that statistic again and think about the women in your life, your mother, your sister, your daughter, your best friend, your colleague. 1 in 3. And childhood sexual abuse. It's an epidemic we don't talk about enough, especially in our communities where silence is often mistaken for strength. And speaking up is seen as airing dirty laundry, as being disloyal, as breaking the family code. But here's what I learned from Tonya Oliver and from the stories of other incredible Black women who have walked this path. Survival is possible, healing is possible, and rebuilding is an act of radical self love. It's an act of defiance against every system, every person, every voice that told you to stay quiet, to move on, to get over it, to be strong. Let's talk about what survival actually looks like when the trauma happens in childhood. When Oprah Winfrey finally spoke publicly about being sexually abused starting at age 9, she didn't just share a story. She shattered a silence that had kept millions of Black women trapped in shame, trapped in the belief that what happened to them was somehow their fault. Oprah was raped repeatedly by family members, people she was supposed to trust, people who were supposed to protect her. She got pregnant at 14. 14 years old, her baby died. And for years, she carried that pain in silence, convinced that somehow it was her fault, that she was dirty, that she was less than. that she was broken beyond repair. Sound familiar? That's what childhood rape does. It convinces you that you're the problem. It makes you believe that your body betrayed you, that you did something wrong, that if you had just been different, smarter, quieter, louder, it wouldn't have happened. It steals your childhood and replaces it with shame so heavy you can barely breathe under the weight of it. But here's where the story shifts. Oprah didn't just survive, she chose to heal. Therapy, journaling, channeling that pain into education, into her career, into eventually using her massive platform to say out loud what so many Black women had whispered in the dark. I was abused. It wasn't my fault, and I'm still here. She built a $2.5 billion empire, yes, but more importantly, she built a new foundation for her life, one not defined by what was done to her, but by who she chose to become. She turned her pain into purpose, her trauma into transformation, her silence into a megaphone for millions. That's the first thing Tonya Oliver wants us to understand. Childhood rape leaves lasting trauma, but survival is possible through strength and healing. Not the fake strength, not the cape wearing, I'm fine when I'm really dying strength. Real strength, the kind that says, I'm going to therapy, I'm going to cry, I'm going to feel this. I'm going to sit in the discomfort of my healing because I deserve to be whole. And I'm going to heal anyway, even when it's messy, even when it's slow, even when I want to give up. Now, let's talk about why this matters so deeply for Black women specifically. Tarana Burke, the founder of the Me Too movement, was raped at age 5 in a Bronx housing project, 5 years old. And for years, she stayed silent, not because she didn't want to speak, but because who was she supposed to tell? In communities where calling the police can be dangerous, where family loyalty is everything, where we're taught that what happens in this house stays in this house, silence becomes survival. Silence becomes the only option that feels safe, even though it's killing you from the inside out. Tarana Burke could have stayed silent forever. She could have carried that pain to her grave like so many Black women before her, but she didn't. She started working with young Black girls who had been abused, and in their pain, she saw her own. In their stories, she heard her own voice, the one she had silenced for so long. In 2006, she formalized the Me Too movement, creating a space specifically for Black and Brown survivors to say, this happened to me too. And I'm not ashamed anymore. And I'm not alone anymore. And in 2017, when Me Too went viral, it wasn't just a hashtag. It wasn't just a social media moment. It was a reckoning, a global reckoning that forced the world to listen to what Black women had been saying all along, that we've been violated, that we've been silenced, that we've been carrying this pain while still showing up, still performing, still being strong for everyone else. Tarana Burke didn't just break her own silence, she created a movement that gave millions of women permission to break theirs. Here's the second thing Tonya Oliver shared with me, and it's critical. Black women and girls face disproportionately high rates of sexual abuse, demanding community awareness and support. We can't keep pretending this isn't happening. We can't keep protecting predators in the name of family unity or church reputation or respectability politics. We can't keep prioritizing the comfort of abusers over the healing of survivors. Our girls are dying inside. Our women are carrying wounds that never got the chance to heal. And we have to do better. We have to be braver. We have to be louder. Tarana Burke turned her survival into a movement. She didn't just heal herself, she created pathways for millions of other Black women to heal too. That's what happens when you stop building your life around trauma and start building it around purpose. That's what Tonya Oliver is doing right now. That's what this soft girl era is all about. Dropping the cape, releasing the shame, saying no to carrying what was never ours to carry in the first place. Let me tell you about Viola Davis, Oscar winner, Emmy winner, EGOT status. You know her as Annalise Keating, as Rose Maxon, as one of the most powerful actresses of our generation. But what you might not know is that Viola Davis survived childhood sexual abuse starting at age 6. She grew up in poverty in Rhode Island, roach infested homes, hunger that made her stomach ache every night, an alcoholic father who brought chaos instead of safety, and on top of all that, molestation by family associates, people who had access to her because they were trusted. She carried shame and self doubt into adulthood, convinced she wasn't worthy of the success she was building, convinced that at any moment someone would discover she was a fraud. But here's what Viola Davis did: she used acting as therapy. She poured her pain into her performances. She married a man who supported her healing, who held space for her trauma without trying to fix it or rush it. And then in her memoir, Finding Me, she got vulnerable. She told the truth, not the sanitized, media friendly version, the real, raw, painful truth. And in doing so, she gave permission to countless Black women to do the same, to say, I was abused, I'm still healing, and I'm worthy of every good thing anyway. I'm worthy of love, I'm worthy of success, I'm worthy of softness, I'm worthy of joy. That brings me to the third insight Tonya Oliver shared, and honestly, this one hits the hardest. Rebuilding a new foundation after years of carrying this pain is an act of courageous commitment to self. Think about that. Tonya Oliver spent years, decades building her entire life around trauma that happened when she was 4 years old. Every decision she made, every relationship she entered, every boundary she didn't set, every time she said yes when she meant no, every time she put everyone else first, it was all built on that foundation of survival. And now she's choosing to rebuild. Not because it's easy, not because anyone's making her, but because she deserves a foundation built on healing, on softness, on joy, on her own terms. Rebuilding is terrifying because it means acknowledging that the old foundation, the one built on survival and hypervigilance and never feeling safe, has to come down. And when you tear down the only structure you've ever known, even if it was built on pain, you're standing in the rubble for a while, exposed, vulnerable, wondering if you'll ever feel solid again, wondering if you made a mistake, wondering if maybe survival was enough after all. But here's what I learned from Tonya Oliver, from Oprah, from Tarana, from Viola. You will. You will feel solid again. But this time, it'll be different. This time, the foundation will be yours, built on your healing, your boundaries, your softness, your joy, your rest, your refusal to carry shame that was never yours, your refusal to protect people who hurt you, your refusal to shrink so others can feel comfortable. So here's what I need you to hear. If you're listening to this and you're carrying trauma from childhood, from last year, from last week, I need you to know that you don't have to carry it alone anymore. I need you to know that healing is not a luxury, it's your birthright. I need you to know that you are not broken, you are not damaged, you are not too much or not enough. You are a survivor. And survival is just the beginning. Here's what I'm asking you to do right now, today, not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel ready, because here's the truth: you'll never feel completely ready. Commit to one healing action, just one. Maybe it's journaling your story for the first time, letting the words spill out onto the page without judgment. Maybe it's calling RAIN, the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network, at 1-800-656-HOPE. Maybe it's finding a therapist who specializes in trauma, someone who understands the unique intersection of being Black and being a survivor. Maybe it's supporting a Black Survivor Fund or organization that's doing the work in our communities. Maybe it's finally telling someone you trust what happened to you. One action, because silence is what keeps us stuck. Silence is what keeps the cycle going. Silence is what allows predators to keep preying and survivors to keep suffering. And we're done with that. Tonya Oliver is done with that. I'm done with that. And I'm asking you to be done with that too. This is your invitation to the soft girl era. This is your permission slip to drop the cape, to stop performing strength, to stop carrying everyone else while you're drowning. This is your moment to choose yourself, to build a foundation that's yours, to heal without apology, to rest without explanation, to say no without guilt. You deserve softness. You deserve healing. You deserve a life that feels like yours. And it starts right now with one brave choice, one honest conversation, one healing action. Tonya Oliver is rebuilding. Oprah rebuilt. Tarana rebuilt. Viola rebuilt. And so can you. The rubble doesn't last forever. But the foundation you build from it, that's yours to keep. Now go build something beautiful.